3K 4v4. No, 5v5 going down here. Team 1, Anus. Team 2 is OSP. Team 1, we have Heaven Based, also known as Herman, Slayer, Firestorm, Rom, and Mungo Parker. Team 2, we've got Minarius, Kettlebor, Lena, Pie of Reckoning, and Highball. We're on Nix's Eye rotated this time around, causes people to play different because Ooga Booga Monkey Brain wants to go high and makes a lot of people realize that this map has more cover than they think. Anyways, obligatory intros aside, hi, I'm Neca Boy, gonna be your local caster today. Cracked open a cold one before this match, so you're gonna hear me get more and more deranged and silly as the game goes on. The map is slightly off to the side here. The deploy zones are a bit favoring the top and bottom for the red or orange and blue team, respectively. Local cat gets hammered off one beer. Okay, look, I am very small. All right, give me a break. Timer starts up here now, putting them on the clock. Let's see what their deployments are. We'll go through the fleets once we get into the game proper. Going to be a lot of fighting over A point we typically see when this map gets rotated like this, even though that's typically an empty dead zone for most players when they're playing Nix's Eye proper. And we're just waiting on Rom to hit that ready button. Here we go into the match. The camera has us focused on a Corvette, so nothing really to say there. It looks like pretty standard fare. Ooh, Mark 64 and a jammer on it, though. That's a little unusual. Don't typically see a Mark 64. Usually those are reserved for Vauxhalls, since you can buff them with ammo elevators and get some meaningful firepower. Anyway, since it's first to see here, we got Slayer bringing in 9 Corvettes. You're seeing a wing of 3 of them here. Mark 62s, torpedo launchers, defenders, and a Mark 64 for the center ship. And check the rest of the fleet. We're seeing probably going to be 3 wings of them. Yep, looks like 3 dispersed wings of Corvettes here trying to play that cap game. For ROM, we have got some VLS-2 and Pinard combos here, trying to go for that kind of offset missile support role. Seeing 2 pairs scattered around the map, and then a lone ship here with torpedoes and defenders, and another lone ship, torpedoes and defenders for that Corvette. So yeah, 15 total Corvettes so far that we've gone through, and there's more of that to come. Mungo Parker bringing in the 450 front side axe here with 250 backpack. Interesting for that kind of close range skirmish. Got some rebounds, stone walls, and defenders on these, so mixture of various point defense types. I don't believe that these will be the track correlated type. Let's see. Checking through them. Nope, just going for that ammo elevator and mount gyro playstyle, going for the kind of more aggressive Axford. See how well that goes. Heaven Base, aka Herman over here, bringing in a rail battleship. Oh boy. Yep. Nebulous launch called. It wants its build back. Joining this is going to be a couple of spotting sprinters that just have pinards and bullseyes along with basic frontline radars there, so trying to go for that spotting dispersion. And lastly, Firestorm rounding out the team with 1, 2, and then 3 CLs, all rocking that 250 stuff with VLS-1 backpacks. One of them does have a bullseye lock in the place of the top gun there. Anyways, over for OSP side, let's go through their fleets. Highball is bringing a 450 Bulker along with a spotting tug there. Got that Bloodhound on the nose, very nice. They have another 450 Bulker, so that's going to be most of their fleet. And a couple of T-20 shuttles just to kind of clean up stuff around the battle space. Minimal investment, very good cost-effective role. Kettlebor bringing a, I don't remember what the word for 6 monitors is, but it's more than a quartet either way. 6 monitors with the bombshell nose, the C90 on these, and then T-30s to follow up, going for that mass volume of fire. A couple of these do actually have a plasma turret on them, so they can opener people a little bit. Hextet, it's something like that. If anyone knows, put it in the comments. Anyways, Lena now has Mass Driver Liner and Mass Driver Liner, a pair of those, along with a Bloodhound early warning tug. It does the, or not tug, rather. This is a monitor. Not coming with. Oh no, it does have an intel center. So yeah, that is a very good asset to have on your team, giving you the awareness with the early warning radar, identifying things quickly with that intel center, and then providing you that high accuracy track from the very nice Bloodhound nose. Take a look at the rest of the fleets here. Minarius, the counterpart to Slayer here, as it's just oops, all small ships. seeing a couple pairs of rocket shuttles scattered around the map
Rocket
just
and
here
mine.
to rockets for most of these, and some of them do have mine launchers equipped as well, being able to carry, what's that? I believe 9 sprint
5.
mines. Yeah, so that's
Half of
enough
them
for
are
a good
half
sprint
of them are
deployment.
mines.
So, yeah, half mine. So yeah, these are hybrids, as some of them have mine launchers and some of them have rockets, and they're being run in pairs so they can disperse a minefield just to annoy the enemy and then give a big old rocket strike. So that's going to be fun to deal with for the ANS side. And lastly, we have Pie of Reckoning bringing a 450 CC here. Pretty standard fare, has Pavises and
Same fleet
some...
as the first match, I think.
Yes, I believe you are correct on that. Yep. So golf ball jammer, Pavise, and then some Sarissa fire for that long range
Actually,
intercept.
only one monitor, not 2.
These swapped out, yeah, rocket shuttles with some jamming. MLS2 deployment there. Just nice to throw 20 missiles at somebody. And then most of it just going for shuttle fare. So yeah, it is a ton of shuttles against a ton of corvettes in this game. It is going to be very interesting to see how much each side can bleed each other of small ship assets. ECAP goes into the hands of the OSP. C and D goes in the hands of the ANS. ANS favoring D point a little bit, as they do enjoy that position since it's a little more open and they can do some shore bombardment or beam fire directly into the contesting assets. Top side of the map, bit of a standoff here as both sides square off against each other, ready to fight. A point, we're seeing it being capped now by a trio of shuttles now just being sent in. Rail fire onto one of them, overkilling it. Missile size 1 AMMs trying to counter some stuff there. Size 2 gaming going down here as hybrids stage and are screaming in, most of them being killed by Pavis, although I believe one got a hit there. A point does go into the hands of the OSP. That is going to be very annoying for ANS to counter, as OSP has pretty much all the tools they need to just shred anything that goes into the A point now. See a Corvette trying to move its way there, firing off some interesting torpedoes here. CMD primary, along with a self-screening jammer here to mess with any incoming AMMs, although AMM's typically not the tool you want to use to counter these. It's a couple missiles as well fired in anger here.
SSJ doesn't even deal with AMMs that well.
It can disperse the Axe Seeker a little bit, but
it has 50% success rate.
It's still better than nothing, but either way, like we said, A point here just being warded off, all of these bombshells, mass drivers, and whatnot just shredding into this Corvette here. So yeah, instantly reading the Corvette drive. Yep, now it dies, as correct from Hellcringe over here. Yeah, mass drivers, a lot of front-loaded damage in a fairly narrow cone compared to HEI impacts from missiles. ACAP secured now. It's on to ANS to take that back, and they're probably not going to be able to. Anything that goes onto that point will be killed by the Overwatch. OSP securing their slight cap advantage here. ANS now needs to decide where are we going to push that the OSP is not covering. Seeing them now drifting a little bit around the D side. One of those ships in the first wing of Corvettes here has gone down. Seeing another one, the ACAP are just being sacrificed. Still, there's plenty of Corvettes lurking around the outside that can try and pick off certain ships and get value. There's a rail battleship firing a couple of rail rounds at anything that presents itself. This is sort of the counterpart to the long-range bombardment of mass drivers, although rails work very differently from it. We used to see a ton of ANS fleets built just entirely around a rail battleship back in the day, although rails have changed quite a bit since then. We don't have the Mark 82, for example, and their damage model has changed. Anyways, skirmish going down here as rocket shuttles dive onto a poor unattended Corvette, and it eats it royally here, going down in a blink of the eyes. And that's going to be another asset bled from the ANS side. So fairly neutral now, as ANS needs to really get their act together and decide where they're going to go. ANS has a trio of CLs kind of sitting in the midfield now that are going to be eating mass driver fire. One of those guns instantly getting taken out by a mass driver. It's the unfortunate nature of the damage model there, as a single mass driver round, I believe, can just flat out kill a turret here. These do not have the cover that they so want to seek. Seeing them now getting plastered from the front there as they're desperately trying to jam and then move into cover. Yeah. I say not to leak intel. Keep yourself in your respective slots, spectators. You are peanut gallery. Don't give them information they don't need. So now seeing the C90 array unleashing onto these CLs here as they're trying to dive into cover. Seeing them now turning themselves because they want to get away as soon as possible. Yeah. C90 fire being fairly effective as well. Those kind of cone-shaped damage models really pecking away at one of these CLs. Actually, two of them now taking heavy fire. Yeah, this is nasty. Let's see. Do these mass drivers have any gun plottings? Yes, they do have a gun plotting, which I believe as a tech is actually a good thing to have at certain ranges. You can really notice the difference here. Just watching these CLs get royally plastered now as they're getting busted up here. Oof. Yeah, kind of decided early on here now as ANS bleeding out assets from all of this long-range fire and realizing now that they are in the wrong place too late. Nebulous is a game where you lose from mistakes you made 5 minutes ago, and we're watching as one of these CLs just gets completely gutted out here. Yeah, now extra fire coming down from up high as the 450 bulkers decide they want a piece of the action, and we're seeing just a whole bunch of Daka Daka going down onto these poor CL trio. Look on the map, not much else is happening. D point, you got your Axers just kind of chilling here with from Mungo Parker. They're trying to maneuver around and find targets to shoot at. They might get eyes onto those monitors in the middle of the field now, but OSP kind of just realizing that ANS's midsection has been folded. 3,000 points of CL is just kind of moving down into cover now, trying to survive. And, well, there's nothing stopping them now from pushing up. Seeing some of the corvettes moving out here, trying to get a couple missile strikes against the bulk freighters. AMMs and PD are good. Going to see if any of these will get through. I doubt it. A couple decoys fired, but there's just enough point defense that it will not matter. Shredded there now. Much better
They
against
ran out
light
of range
targets.
as well.
Yeah, that's unfortunate to
Whoops.
see. Torps only about... Would that actually be out of range? I mean, that's only about 4 kilometers. That seems pretty reasonable for Torps, but...
Some torps are lower range. They might be like Giga Warhead or something. Oh,
Possibility
that
big
drive just
warhead.
went down in one shot or something.
Trying to guess which drive you're talking about here. But yeah, mass drivers turn and face onto those torpedo bombers as they're trying to get out of there.
Corvettes above A.
Slayer's Gorgon Corvette here, yeah, has TLS no less on this thing. So while it is
the TLS
it is
here.
tempting to have because it is technically double the health of a VLS or cantered launcher. It does struggle to get onto its track there. Yeah.
The problem is it doesn't fire.
Yes, you'll spend time agonizing, wondering why is it not shooting when it's just barely out of range. Anyways,
Yeah,
Railfire now cooking into the Constitution. Highballs 450 Bulker here, just now experiencing a whole myriad of problems as multiple things are now suddenly on fire from that rail salvo. So Rail's working differently on Testulous. They have a autoloader, which provides them with 5 shots before they have to take a 1-minute reload. Interval between shots is 15 seconds, if my math is correct. That can then be buffed by rapid cycle cradles. This allows for some nasty front-loaded burst, which can make people think twice as they get hit by a whole bunch of rail fire, and then so they have to deal with the follow-up critical event chain shutdowns. So Bloodhound Tug getting pecked at a little bit by some of the corvettes lurking around the map right now, but as it currently stands, OSP is feeling pretty comfortable. They just need to get themselves into cover. That said, the Constitution, this thing is now full of fires. Taking a look at that thing's damage control board, you will just see all of the compounding debuffs here. 5 debuffs per module is a lot for the damage control teams to work through, even though liners do have very good DCs. This is a lot, and it will only compound as fires exponentially spread. There's a couple of rockets being exchanged on the lower side of the A-Rock, as it would be conventionally known. Mine and rocket tugs run into a trio of corvettes. One of them is taken out. The other 2 have suffered impacts here and are not having a good time. They're trying to rotate around. Is there any rockets left here for a follow-up strike? Looks like they have used most of their payload. They still have 1 or 2 left in the bank, though.
One of the shuttles has 16 left, so still.
Oh, yeah, that's more than enough to kill this right here. So, yeah. Fortunately, seeing the trio of corvettes, they're kind of biting the dust to it.
Yeah. All the CLs are also RPFing them. I doubt they're actually going to turn around in time.
CLs wounded, although still alive, starting to recover a little bit. That shuttle flank going to be cleaned up. Still, they cost the enemy some opportunity, and there is more where that came from, as there's an entire fleet of shuttles, and Pie of Reckoning has a couple for good measure as well. E-Point has been mined by one of those shuttles with its little sprint mines as it drove by. Seeing ROM kind of skirting around the edge of the map with some of their assets here, trying to find any flank that they could attack with their corvettes. That said, OSP kind of happy to just sit where it is right now. They've moved up to the center of the map with the blob of monitors and are now engaging some fire with the Axfords on D side. Axfords just kind of chilling there most of the game, not even have their heading onto the targets they want to face as they're having to try and shoot at not monitors, rocket tugs. What am I saying? Rocket shuttles going in for a bombing run here against them. Not the ideal target since rockets will not penetrate their armor immediately, but can add up over time. Still keeping their attention and occupying them for the moment as the OSP continues to move around. Missile strike kind of going out here against some of the ships in the backline, although them running out of... Why did those command missiles miss, actually? Oh, they must have had their systems turned off because they just... Ooh, was that tactical reference? I believe that was firing the missiles past them and then looping back around to hit Lena's bulk freighters in the nose there. Interesting plays. It shows you what you can do with CMD hybrids in certain circumstances. All right, so looking around the battle
Rocket
space, OSP
shuttles
continues to hold
disabled
its lead.
near
Yeah.
the CHs.
Yeah, CH is up on D point. Rocket shuttles do bite the dust, a bit to be expected from the 250 backpacks here,
Yeah.
kind of doing their job.
450 to the nose also makes them incredibly sad.
That is true. 450 typically overkill against these small assets, but still, in certain circumstances, can do work. So in the middle of the
Goes
map,
on.
one of those monitors getting shredded by some more rail fire. It's got a bunch of fire started up. Only 2 damage control teams and no restores means this thing is probably going to start burning down very fast. So Highball also experiencing the better part of the railfire as just trying to repair all of the various parts of the liner. More and more debuffs having to be worked through. Just big pain in the ass. Something that you can take advantage of when you have the opportunity to hit them with 450 or 250. However, in this case, we're seeing the NS team kind of split off here, not able to bring their support and frontline assets together to capitalize on anything.
ANS is capping A. It's not even spotted.
NS somehow sneaking in the A capper here. How is this thing able to get here?
It's
Ooh, Prowler Drive.
It's a lock vet.
Prowler Drive Lockvet. Clever girl. As, yeah, OSP just so convinced that they had the point, they now just kind of negated.
There's nothing covering anymore. Everything just kind of left.
That said, ANS will manage to get the A cap here. And they're starting to threaten different angles, so we might see them pulling themselves back into this game. Frontline fights start to engage. Up top, we're seeing Pie of Reckoning. Their C8, or CC rather, is getting a boosted reactor cook-off here. They should be able to fix this in time, provided they don't get a bunch of debuffs going after it. But still, seeing some firepower being traded out there. A pair of Axewards does beat an Acello. So, middle of the map, Monitor Ball starting to break off now away from the D point side, trying to flank around and get into those Axewards in close quarters where they can bring their guns effectively to bear onto their broadsides, where it's less armored. See, C point now seeing a pair of rocket shuttles, unfortunately running into a pair of Vauxhalls that is still lurking around the battle space now. Rocket strike is out, but defenders are going to do their job cleaning up most of these before they will be able to impact.
Yeah, masking issues as well. There's only one firing.
Yep. So now they're able to get both out, although it's going to just be piecemeal damage going in. That said, though, defender goes after the wrong one for a brief second. They do eat a rocket or two there for their trouble. Close quarters rocketeering doing some stuff. So I believe a turret got knocked out there and a reinforced locker redded, but not the worst in terms of damage. These will get cleaned up on C point and they'll be able to hold it.
Yeah.
Backline, we're seeing Lena's early warning and Bloodhound intel monitor getting taken out by, I believe it was a well-placed missile strike that led to a reactor cook-off here. So yeah, ANS kind of doing a good job providing some of those backline cap assets as the Corvettes that had split off earlier and just kind of roamed around the battle space, not being cleaned up by a bunch of the OSP's assets, even though they do have the tools to do it. Could just be a radar issue, or it could be headings.
These aren't really cap assets. They're more anti-cap and anti-scout. They don't really go near points a lot. They're too expensive for that.
Fair enough, fair enough. That said, I will still say that they can cap a point once they've cleaned up the various things that would be defending it.
There's
we're not seeing a whole bunch of tugs.
There.
Speaking of bombing runs, we're seeing some size 2 hybrids going after one of them. It does get shot down by PD and AMMs. Yeah, 450 trying to get into a firing arc to hit those Axewards that are defended the D point. That said, we're seeing now a monitor going onto the D point proper. It is mostly cored out, but still is contesting that cap. Will it get the cap before it goes down is the question. That will then force the ANS to bring assets forwards instead of just defending their point. Just barely managed to get the kill there. Railfire going into the monitor ball from the side. We're seeing one of them starting to get a bunch of fires and other things adding up on it. So yeah, Rails providing meaningful support in some ways here as they just get that critical mass of Railfire where damage control is not able to counter it. These are fairly cheap monitors, all things considered, about 500 points a piece, so you could fit in 6,000. So Grazers here knocking out a couple of those torpedoes that we see fired off near the D point. C-Cap is actually thrown into the hands of OSP, but can be taken back by these Vauxhalls in a second. See, D-Cap was, again, contested there, but not a problem. Rocket
I'm
Strike
currently
going into the
watching
broadside here in
Railfire
450 as
overpen
well.
one monitor and hit the one behind it.
Ooh, yeah, that is the other nastiness of the formation here, just with the lines. If they can get a shot, it will overpen from one monitor and then get you double value. So interesting kind of like weird situation that emerges here. It can be countered just by dispersing the monitors a little bit, but
Yeah, I
Oh,
think the angle's kind of past now.
yeah. Anyways, D point,
No, I think
the
that
Corvette
short
on it has
burst
now.
knocked out
Ooh, this is
3
going to be bad.
monitors
So they're
effectively.
overkilling a Corvette on the D point. This has 1 minute until its reactor goes off. Those monitors are moving on to the point. They have unknowingly laid a bomb for themselves. We might see all of these monitors suddenly get stripped of their armor that keeps them safe from things like 100 mil. Anyways, Axford's having a bad time as their broadside is getting thrown a whole bunch of 450 shells into it. Highball having a good time over here now that they've managed to recover most of their fleet and return fire. Still, Axford's contributing quite a bit of fire at this range in return, so big old 450 fight. Love to see the capitals go off. Let's take a look around the battle space. D point is getting capped now. C point has been resecured. ANS still behind here as the A point kind of decided things for a moment there. A point, now we've got a shuttle moving towards it, going to get that cap off. Let's take a look. Is that reactor going to bloom on D point? Yep, 30 seconds until that bloom happens. I don't think they know. They have shot the ever-loving shit out of this thing, and that is one of the risks of when you have a whole bunch of damage instances. There's all those chances to roll a crit. Is looking at the A point now, shuttle drifting onto it as pretty much nobody is watching. CLs are out of position to cover that, and maybe there'll be a Corvette or something that can fire onto it. Yep, here we go. So yeah, D point, those Axfords getting hit from multiple sides now. 4 seconds until that reactor bloom cooks off. Let's watch this thing, and armor revoked. Boom. So not the worst impact on many of those monitors, but still, that is weakened armor. Could have been a lot worse. They do not go full burnt chicken nugget, but yeah, that is not a place you want to be. Anyways, Axford's jumped from multiple sides now as OSP just brings the numbers to bear. 3,000 points worth of Axford cannot hold up against such firepower.
Yeah, it's 3 flights versus 1. It's
Bunch of stuff in the backline, though, kind of getting cleaned up as OSP pushes forward, taking the middle of the map, and the various Corvettes just picking and choosing their battles. CMD missiles taking out Hugs and Corvettes and whatnot wherever they can. Monitors have gone down. Monitor Blob still alive and well on the D point.
Double mount
ANS
gyro.
going to lose their one cap in the middle of the map now. Rail's not quite enough to knock out the A capper in time. That point will flip, and they'll have to invest in assets in a second
there's
here
a
to get that back.
going there already.
Lockback going there, but the question is, what do they have to return fire with this? Mass Driver liners have moved around the outside of the map trying to contribute to the D fight, although there's a rock between them and that target, so they will probably retask towards C or something similar. And ANS, to their credit, doing a pretty good job of cleaning up multiple OSP assets here, and OSP trying to kill off the cap, well, not the cap fleet, but the capital fleet here. One of Mungo Parker CH is going super critical here, has to scram reactor a little too late to do that, unfortunately. Can they get that repair in time? Looks like they should be able to here, provided nothing else goes horribly wrong. Yep, they are able to save that reactor. But that said, these Axfords are not in a position Axfords want to be in as they're just getting shredded from all sides. Yeah. Monitor Ball just tearing into them now with 100 mil AP, wearing down that armor. 600 millimeter Hesh rounds just smacking into the broadside as well. And then whenever they get a chance, the 450 Bulkers contributing as well. So 450 Bulkers have started to take some hits here. Rail Battleship contributing a little bit of fire into one of them, and the other one has had its big drive knocked out for the moment there, has to spend a restore to get that back. See, CL's here now rotating away from the C point, trying to clean up anything along the way as they head towards D. That said, maybe a little bit late on that rotation, not punishing that monitor ball in time. They had the opportunity to collapse their fleets there, but just were not able to take it. Rail's continuing to fire across the battle space. Rail Battleship just kind of hanging out on the outside right now. I will argue that possibly not the best use of a battleship. You are paying for all of that armor and potential damage control and other goodness. So having it to just sit as an orbital asset and not taking any damage feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity there. I'm saying, love your icon, Pi. Let's take a look. Where is Pi? What icon do they have here? That's a nice little butterfly on the side of that. How nice. Anyways, 450 Acello deciding it too wants a piece of the action. Just watching now as a plasma round or two cooks into the side of Mungo Parker's heavy cruisers here. Yeah. Not technically dead yet, but certainly on their way out. Offensive firepower has been completely removed for one of them. And on the other one, yeah, not long for this world. Mag is out. We'll need a restorer. And the guns are going down there. Big reactor is gone. One of them finally bites the dust to 450 fire. Not looking the greatest for the ANS frontline. Really, they're reduced down to just a pair of Vauxhalls, and then they've got a orbital battleship, which is not exactly going to be a frontline in this case. Does have contributing firepower that it can augment other ships with, but Rails on their own not being the kind of decisive end-all, be-all firepower we saw about a year or plus ago. Back cap going onto the E-point. Yep, so managing to get a cap here and avoiding these sprint mines narrowly on the E-point. Range is there just barely long enough that it does not get got. No point defense on this thing, so it is just hoping that it does not activate those mines. That will flip the points back, but what frontline does ANS really have now? CL's starting to get attention turned towards them by these monitors. Going to see some 450 join it shortly as the guns turn and bear. Oof. Mass drivers as well. Yeah, that's 3 fleets worth of firepower against CLs that want to keep their bow heading towards one fleet in particular, and they do not have the opportunity. Another reactor bloom going off there from a shuttle we saw earlier get shot up by these CLs. I think ANS might just get folded here as one of these CLs, yep, reactor is going... Oh, no, magazine detonation going off here, so they might be able to fix that in time, but still a lot of damage being dealt here and not a lot they can do in return. What stops the
Black
OSP
mayonnaise
from
is
just
done.
pushing?
Nothing.
Point flip here. Really, this game is now going to be decided by can the ANS team get all the backcaps. B point is being backcapped now by a pair of, well, now just a single Corvette here. Monitor lost an antenna, all the mines lock onto it. Oh, that's interesting. Must have missed that. Was that Pie of Reckonings? Might have been Pie of Reckonings.
If not, did.
Oh, I see. If. My mistake then. All right, anyways, yep. So one CL going down here now to fire. The other one shortly to follow. Yeah. That's just the front line of the ANS basically not existing at this point. Mungo Parker technically has a Axford still alive, but this thing doesn't have any offensive firepower, so it's just existing as a little PD brick and, you know, technicality asset. It's going to come down to can the Corvettes hold on at this pace?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
ANS needs 20 minutes at these caps to win.
4 cap is good, but it is not that good. You still have half the points total you need to get a win out of this, and OSP still has some cap assets.
1,500.
No,
Is
it's
it
1,000.
No, it's 1,000.
Oh, it's 1,000.
Yeah, you can see the black bars if you adjust your camera slightly. Yeah, we addressed that at the start of the match.
I need to redo these calculations.
Yeah, redo that calc. Give me those numbers, please. Thank you.
Oh shit, it's raining. 1 second.
Yeah, let's take a look. So 100 mil flying into some of these Corvettes. Just kind of a cleanup
ANS
stage of the game.
has 8 minutes 52 seconds till they win. OSP has 22:40.
Yeah. Seeing C-Cap going down here. Nothing really in position to contest this as a rocket shuttle manages to get that. There is a torpedo Corvette, technically, that is trying to lock on now. That TLS struggling to get a bearing onto it. Oop, there goes a torp launch towards the
OSP
A point.
Gets a 2 cap, they'll win.
Yeah,
At this
so
pace.
see this torp launch going towards A point, trying to deny that there. Let's see if it is good or not.
Pure command generally is pretty unreliable at shuttles at these ranges. Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
It ran out of
Oh, and it
range.
detonates running out of range. That's unfortunate.
Rip.
Yeah. Command seeker primary kind of requiring lock because there's so many times I've seen that fly by and just completely miss due to track
If you're
quality.
really close with the Corvette frontline, because that has an accuracy buff, it can work, but it's not very reliable.
So
Like,
30-meter error and then get range. Oop, and we're seeing that shuttle now being taken out there. Rails, just right through the nose.
Good. Very good for the shuttles.
Rocket launcher cell cook off there. Fired last of its rockets there just towards the already dead CLs. Does actually get hits on them because they are, well, dead and not firing in return.
No crits though. Jesus, these things are just completely grayed out.
Yeah. Turns out 3 fleets worth of firepower is pretty good at killing CLs when they have their broadsides presented.
Or, like, in general, honestly.
Yeah, true enough. Mass driver to the front knocking out the Mark 64 turrets like we saw earlier on. Rather annoying when that happens. Rail battleship trying to fire a couple shots here. I don't know if it's even taken a round in return this game. Rail's going out towards the Ocello. Not sure if it's intentional or not, but they are presenting the broadside of the Ocello as to not get crit all the way down the nose, since Rail penetration is basically just yes. Does lose the sun drive and starts a couple of fires. CIC getting redded out. So it's just kind of drifting down here now. What does ANS have, really? They've got a 3 cap for what it's worth, but...
Will win barely. Very barely at this rate.
Question is, do they have the math to figure that out or not? So a lot of frontline fleet power. If they decide to just push onto A point, does ANS have something to stop that?
No.
Oh, Mungo Parker just barely limping back into the game. We also see one of Slayo's Corvettes going for the decap here. Those monitors need to turn around and realize this is a threat.
There's mines
one sprint
on
mine
D.
goes off here. Gonna take out the Corvette there, but yeah, overkill.
There's one more mine here.
There's more than one.
I have to click. Okay, let's see. Will these kill off Mungo Parker here or not? Good hits. Yep, that's going to be that sorted. Unfortunate. Yeah. They tried to go for the decap there. I thought the Corvette might have eaten them all and opened the back door for them, but no, decap is denied. Nothing left for the ANS over here. So kind of a weird circumstance now, as ANS does still have their 3 cap, but it's just going to be, is the rail battleship able to make enough ships think twice about going onto the points here? That front-loaded 20 rail salvo is pretty feisty against an individual ship, but I mean, does anything really stop a monitor blob just moving on to A point? I don't think so.
Again, they have...
Up to them to realize this now and then commit to that cap. And now C cap, we got Rom with a Corvette trying to make his way onto the point here. There is that Ocello nearby, but the Ocello has just been eating rail fire nonstop here. Seeing the front side of it just getting it totally filled with fires. Turrets as well. Trying to get the CIC back online. Without that, it's not able to move. I don't believe they have a secondary CIC or AUX. Yeah, not under command. Unfortunate. Yeah. Oop. Monitor blob narrowly avoiding another reactor bloom there by the skin of their teeth. One of them does get actually cooked there. Is totally stripped out. Look at that thing. Just a little too close to the sun. Yeah, monitors at this point, you are correct in the chat there, Corbo, could disperse and try and find themselves onto a point or two. And OSB does need to split. It is kind of their game to lose.
B back.
Yeah, ANS capping C point here. Gonna flip it a little bit. B point kind of going neutral. Rocket shuttle does get a good hit. It takes out one of the B defenders, it looks like.
One more going for A.
Yeah. Possibility of B side, they could recap there. Is that going to be a point flip in progress? See, okay, so over on ECAP, we're seeing a 450 Bulker taking that back from the ANS hands. Surprisingly close, all things considered, with the ANS frontline just getting folded and them losing A very early on. All the reactor blooms going off. D point is a graveyard. Just there's so many dead ships scattered around here, either reactor blooming or just trying to, well, exist and be taken in as salvage in the post game. B cap, they're being flipped, like we said. E cap, again, being flipped from the 450 Bulkers. So, still pretty close. Could be anyone's game here. A cap now contested as a rocket shuttle and a Corvette square off against each other. Going to see the rail fire and then the 100 mil monitors open up in a second once they get in range. Battleship having... Oh, rail battleship is out of ammo. That is going to basically decide this, as that is now just a pretty much like, what do you call that, 2.5 thousand point brick. Yeah. So I think that is just going to be it.
Half the time to win. If they get the 3 cap here, which they will, because there's not much to contest that.
Still surprisingly close points-wise, all things considered. See, A cap is cleaned up as that poor Corvette goes down. I think a bit of friendly fire going off there as the bombshells land.
Looks like it, yeah.
Rocket launcher gets knocked out there from that. As GG called here, as OSB is able to secure the 3 cap, working on that 4 cap for the 8 point, and that will spell the game. Still, 800 points, surprisingly close given the cap state. All right, let's see. I'm gonna throw in the towel then, and that will be ANS team surrendering. And based over here, I believe alive on like technicality with an arming missile in one of these ships, because otherwise the battleship is not offensive. Look.
King Waller's Revenge.
Yep.
On the other hand, you could say that the battleship is in fact very offensive.
Well, it is certainly a build. Kind of
It
interesting to
is
see the rail
mere
change coming
existence,
through.
It is fighting words, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that will be the game, and we'll get into the post game. See here people joining into the channel now.
Ouch. I appear to have brought not enough ammo. I thought 700 was fine. Looks like it's not.
So Rail Battleship runs out of ammo at the very end there. Still managed to pull some decent numbers, even though rails aren't typically a direct damage weapon like that.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
for our local Rail
19K.
Battleship enthusiast, thoughts on the changes? How does it feel?
I mean, I'd rather brought DDs. Yeah, that's about it. It's bad. You know, it's not. It's pretty enjoyable. Like it's bad, but it's fun.
19K is pretty standard for Railway Onyx. With
Yeah,
like,
but
40
this
Ds.
time I think I'd have done just a bit more if I had the ammo, because I had to start like conserving at some point.
True.
But
Interesting
yeah.
thing that happened during that game was when you were firing at the monitor ball, some of your shots actually overpenned and got double value, hitting a monitor behind it.
Oh, did that.
I saw that. Yeah.
I mean, like, honestly, as the monitor is being hit by it, it was an inconvenience and it was unpleasant, but, like, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
that's right.
attribute it to, like, any major degradation in actual effectiveness.
No one else was really shooting you, so.
That's the
Yeah.
big thing. Rails, on their own, not really a killing tool, but they can severely inhibit your ability to survive when you're hit by follow-up volleys from bigger weapons like 250 and 450.
We
I think-
tried Rails as a killing tool. It did not work out very well.
I think shuttles do suffer from it. I think.
Yeah, shuttles die. They are
Mm.
very
We
Flags
saw
too.
a cap shuttle just get completely gutted stem to stern.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
completely disabled my cello at the end there.
Yeah, the
Yeah, the
Ocello,
Ocello
like
hitting the broadside.
I saw it slow down from the broadside, and it took I think 2 salvos of the Alpha Strike to get it to like good, fine from like overwhelmed by the railguns, and that was pretty good. I think the Alpha Strike on like against actual ships in those like combat-ish situations, the BB I think takes the cake because it just disables them a bit faster. But to do rail
Interestingly,
job,
this game,
DDs are better.
we saw there was no beam destroyers to guard a point, but also I don't believe there was any multi-mission tugs, just relying entirely on things like corvettes and mass shuttles. Going for a very wide mobile game.
Yeah, with pretty much complete map control, this is definitely our game to lose. But
Saw the CLs attempting to hold a point earlier on there, and unfortunately just getting hit by a mass volley of mass drivers, 600 mil, and then I think a 450 Bulker opened up on them a bit too. Kind of goes to show ANS really does need to try and do their best to deny a cap like that, as it is pain to try and retake a cap compared to keeping terms neutral.
All right. There's that game. Thanks again to Neko Boy for leading and for casting. He's done a good job with both of those things. I know I didn't do much of an intro explaining what's going on, but I'm sure you figured it out. We got started a little late. Well, I got started a little late on the recording. Not much to say about that game. We'll be in the next one here before too long. I'll see you in the battle space, dear viewer. Where's my mouse? There it is. Good night.